Welcome to our second model making tutorial. What we're aiming to do today is to create a snapshot of the Modern Warfare shipment map. On the screen what you should be able to see is the general layout of what we're aiming to build. In the centre we're going to place the main containers. The top and the left hand side we're going to build some fencing. And because this map is so detailed we're going to add some additional elements as well. For example, we're going to add some pallets, debris that will be scattered across the whole model, traffic cones. We're going to add barrels, both the water and some explosive ones as well. And then somewhere near the fencing we're going to add the concrete blocks. To begin with, we've got the base. This has already been gloopy painted, or the majority of it has. What I wanted to do is to leave this part on here so we can actually see the texture. So not only are we going to try and grab the concrete effect, what I also would like as well is the backing of the actual foam board. It's going to add a nice kind of concrete texture as well. Well, that's the aim. Let's see where it goes. The gloopy paint, all it is general white emulsion paint. I've added some black acrylic paint to this as well, just to darken it down to make it more of a grey, and a stupid amount of PVA glue. This will help harden, and if you look in our previous video you will be able to see the similar effect there. The majority of our models will have a gloopy paint on the base itself to harden it. What I like about this is we're going to have lots of different textures. This area here, what I'm looking at is probably some sort of like concrete damage from explosions. It's got a massive hole on the right hand side, which I might try and fill that out with sticking a bit of pipe with maybe some water coming out of it. The left hand side here, what I'm aiming to do is put one of the containers on here. If you're familiar with the shipment map, you'll see there's a lot of like designated space, like parking or something. You're going to have some yellow lines, some white lines for various things. I'm going to try and get that on as well. The map itself is going to be, it's quite small, but the elements we're putting on, there are so many, as mentioned earlier with the planning, so that is what's going to take the majority of the time to actually get all of those built. But hopefully the overall result will be stunning. Now I'm going to leave this to dry for a couple of hours and then I'm going to blackwash it. Okay, this is now ready for the blackwash. Blackwash, it's just very watered down acrylic paint. There's some PVA glue in there as well that will help harden it and also add a nice kind of sheen to the base as well. And all you literally do is just rub it all on. Right, as you can see, because it's so liquidy, it goes into all the cracks of the actual foam board itself. It will pick out a lot of the detail. And in addition to that, it will kind of add a nice shadow effect to it as well. I put a towel down because this will go everywhere, especially when I do the sides. But that is more or less it just for the moment. I'm going to leave that to dry again for another couple of hours and then we can start adding the dry brushing to it. The blackwash is all dry. As you can see, it's actually crept into the holes and the crevices of the foam board. I've already started to dry brush this area so you can see like the contrast. What you need to do is just get some white paint, nice fan brush, but try to take as much of the white paint off as possible and then just gently just go around the actual foam board. That's the edges of the model done. What you can also do is to take one of these makeup brushes, really soft, again dip it in the paint and also take as much off as possible and then just go through the middle of the map. Now I'm probably going to have to darken some of these areas off again at some point, but what I want to do is just to take this grey down into a nice light white and you just basically go through the whole area. Right, I think that's about it. I'm going to let this dry a bit. It's gone quite grey, but that's okay because this area I'm going to darken with a nice black wash or maybe some black dry brushing here. But I'm not going to know until I've actually put the main containers on there. I think we're kind of ready to go now to start putting some of the major detailing in. First step, I think we're going to put some fencing along the top and down the edge. Just before we build the fencing, I put an additional yellow line around the edge of this kind of like concrete area here. This is where I'm going to put one of the main containers. Also, I've made a stencil and also mapped out where the second container is going to go. Doesn't look that good, but also remember the container will cover the majority of this up. To make the fencing, you just take one of these flower bags. You can also get them with fruit as well. Cut off the green netting, paint it up a nice black. Take some cocktail sticks, paint them up silver and cut them up into little pieces. And then what you can do is kind of put them together. As you can see, these are the main fence posts, and I've also put some along the top as well. You do that a couple of times and you end up with quite a nice fence actually. But you do it on both sides because you want to see the fence when it's actually on the map from two different angles. The fences are now in. I've added some additional decals on there, electricity signs. I've also added some tufts of grass here, which I'll show you how to make in a moment. You probably noticed I've got rid of this designated yellow parking area. It just didn't look right. And I've also added a bendy straw. Looks like some pipe work's going on underneath the concrete itself. Okay, let's just move this out of the way so we can get ready for the next parts of the model. Take one paintbrush, take all the bristles off, mount the bristles into a piece of foam board and basically repeat that quite a few times. You can paint them up with a nice dark acrylic paint and also some gentle yellow highlights as well. So I'm going to scatter those around the map later, but let's just put them there for the moment. I've also collected all the offcuts when I was making the fence. You can put them together and it just looks like some spare fencing that you can scatter around the map as well. I think these are super cool. You take loads and loads of coffee sticks and begin building pallets. Repeat that a couple of times, paint them up with some nice white highlights, turn them over and basically repeat on the other side, and then you end up with some really cool pallets. Okay, we can start adding these to the model before we move on to the next detail. These are the beginnings of the cones. They're okay, I'll probably change it later, but ideally you just take the end of a sharpened pencil, paint it orange, put some white lines around, and you've got some plastic cones. Add those to the map as well. Very similar to the no retreat model, I'm going to make some corrugated fencing. I've glued some barbecue skewers to this template here, which is going to make it a lot easier to get the corrugated effect. Once you've done that a few times, what you can do is to paint it up, put some rust marks on and add the wooden spikes. Obviously this one is going to be Shipment Zombified, so this will make a nice little effect towards the side of the fencing. Those are ready to actually be placed on the map as well. Okay, I've just based the majority of the detailing in this corner, but it's just to give us a quick look at how the model's actually kind of coming together. The majority of the detail is now complete. If I just take a couple of PC capacitors, paint them up red and white, and you can get some really cool explosive barrels. Do the same in blue, and you can kind of get some water barrels as well. And now for the really cool stuff. We're actually going to attempt to build the containers. If you take some old food cartons, I've taken off one side of the actual packaging to show the corrugated effect, and all you simply do is basically put it together. Something like this, drop a back on, and obviously we've got a couple of doors. Now when you've actually put that together, you can end up with one of these. As you can see, I've already started to fill the inside. I put a couple of cones and obviously some tins in there. And I've also taken an old shirt, painted it green to make it look like the canvas effect. You do that a couple of times and you can end up with a completed container. I've dropped in an old pallet that can just kind of rest inside. And these are painted up cocktail sticks just to give kind of like the container locks and things. The scene is set, it's almost complete. I've scattered the detail around the base. In this area we've got the corrugated fencing, the zombified area, water barrels, explosive barrels. I've also added some additional cogs and some dirt and stones from out of the garden. Time for the first container. This one you've already seen, this one's got the pallet inside, and with a bit of luck this one should just fit in the corner there. The next container is the one with the cone and the tins inside, and you can also see, with a bit of luck, the green canvas. Now if I gently put this one here, this one should slot in again. Pretty cool. And now for the final container. This one is actually my favourite. I've actually put the zombie decal on and blended it in to actually make it look like it's one of the logos on the container. Just a little bit more to finish this off, but if you think about it, this has just come from junk and bits and pieces from around the house. No 3D printing, no scale kits, just random items. And the final bit, I think all we need to do now is add the final sign into the map, and Shipment Zombies now complete. Please smash that like button and also consider subscribing to Team L4D4. See you in the next one.